So the Rebbe begins with a question of why, when other karbanos that we know have tashlumim, we have it. The tashlumim is immediately after, within the same days after when the carbon was supposed to be brought. Why Pesach Sheni was it established to make tashlumim only 30 days later? So the Rebbe says, bringing the Tzemach Tzedek, that the Tzemach Tzedek explains that Pesach Sheni shows that it's coming b'chodesh Hasheni. Chodesh Hasheni shows on a second level of avodah. The first month of the avodah is the avodah of Iskafia, the avodah of Sur Merah. Second month in avodah, second level in avodah. After you've done Sur Merah, you come to the level of Iyar, and that's Ishapcha, that's Asay Toiv. Just like when the Eden went out of Mitzrayim, it was Kibarach Ha'am, it was going away from bad, and then Sfiras Ha'omer, it's about transforming our midas and changing ourselves. And that's why first Pesach you couldn't have chametz, and the second Pesach you could have chametz in Abayis, because the first Pesach is about Sur Merah. So the chametz that shows on Ra you got to get rid of. But the second Pesach you'd have chametz Abayis already, because you're already on a higher level of Ishapcha, level Sheni, second level, the level of Pesach Sheni. But the Rebbe wants to know, and this is similar to Shvuos, that in the carbon Shtei Alechem was chametz. So the Rebbe asks, but practically it doesn't fit in with what happened in the times when there was Pesach Sheni. There was no two levels. Either you brought Pesach Rishon or you brought Pesach Sheni. If you brought Pesach Rishon, you didn't even have a choice. Even if you wanted to, you couldn't bring Pesach Sheni. So it comes out there was no two levels. There was either you brought Pesach Rishon or you brought Pesach Sheni. So how do you say that the lesson or the idea of Pesach Sheni is two levels in Avodah? There was no two levels of Avodah the way it worked then in Pshut Shel Mikra and also in Halacha. Halacha is you had to keep Pesach Rishon or Pesach Sheni. You didn't have a choice to do both of them one after the other. So the Rebbe says the only problem with that is when you're talking about the carbon Pesach. The carbon Pesach was limited first or second. But the other things of Pesach, they had to do. They couldn't eat. Those people that were tummy and couldn't bring carbon Pesach couldn't eat chametz and had to eat matzah on Tezvav and couldn't have chametz in their house. Meaning, they had the avodah of Sur Merah. They had the avodah of Iskafia, of Nisan, of Chodesh Rishon, the first level. And then it came to Pesach Sheni, and Pesach Sheni, they had the avodah of Ishapcha. What about the other side? What about those that did do the Pesach Rishon? So the carbon shows on the word Kiruv L'Hashem. So because they have the level of carbon, which is Kiruv L'Hashem, which is Arei Asei Tov, so they brought the carbon on Pesach Rishon, they were already able now, with the process of Sfiras Ha'omer, coming into Chodesh Hasheni, that by the time Pesach Sheni arrived, or Bechlal Chodesh Iyar, Chodesh Hasheni arrived, they were able to reach that without actually bringing a carbon Pesach. So both of them, whether it was someone that didn't bring a carbon Pesach the first time around, or whether it was someone that brought the carbon Pesach the first time around, they both had the two levels. First level, carbon Pesach Rishon, was the Sur Merah, and those that could, and they got to the level of Asay Toiv because since you brought a carbon, so you started the process of Kiruv, so then you had Sfiras Ha'omer brought you that by Yudal Be'ir you reach Pesach Sheni. The level of Ashapcha and Asay Toiv and so on. Those that didn't bring a carbon, Pesach Rishon, had the opportunity to have that Kiruv and Ashapcha and Asay Toiv in Pesach Sheni. And then also we can understand why this took place. This is something that we do also these days. Why do we make a zeicher these days to something that didn't really apply to everybody and it was a rare situation and so on, that the whole Klal Yisrael has a minig of not saying tachnon and eating matzah and all these different things? Because the reason why we're marking the second Pesach is because in Baruch Nias, all of us have this avodah that now when we come into Chodesh Iyar, we have the avodah of the second level. We have already finished with Sur Merah, we're finished with Iskafia, we're finished with Yetzias Mitzrayim and Barach Ha'am. Now we have the level where we could reach the level of Ishapcha and Asay Toiv, and especially when we come to the day of Yudal Iyar, today is the day that we have this koyach. Regardless of the fact if we had the carbon in the base of Mikdash or not, we still have this koyach of reaching the level, the second level, the level of Ishapcha.